Welcome back to Beyond the Four Walls. This podcast is built for the heroes community, the men and women who spend their lives inside the four walls of a precinct, a hospital, or military base. Today's episode is personal for me. I'm joined by a man I've walked the line with for 22 years at the Warren Police Department. He's been a patrolman, a meticulous detective, and a respected lieutenant. But more importantly, he's a man who didn't let the job break him. He's a great husband, a great father, a great grandfather, a great friend, and he is truly the definition of a sustainable hero. David Kriss, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to have you here. I'm excited to have you talk about your life. We get to talk a little bit about our friendship. Just really excited to see how today goes. I know we're pretty stuck on time. We're not going to be able to get as much time in as we can, but I'm really excited to just do what we can do and just have a great time of talking. So welcome to Beyond the Four Walls. Thank you for showing up. And wow, here we are, 25 years later of friendship, and we are ready to sit down and talk. So I'm ready to hear what you have to say. I'm ready to just dig deep in our friendship and on your life and what you're doing now. And so let's get going. Welcome, Dave Kriss.
Good friend of mine at the time, Tim Schulo, worked for the Warren Police Department, and he was going through the academy, and he was really excited to start there. And he talked to me about it. He showed me the equipment and everything, and it sort of captured me. And then I started applying, and it took me several years to get hired. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was just extremely competitive. As you well know, like I went and applied for Sterling Heights. That's where I wanted to go. That's where I grew up. And I walked in there, and there was like 620 people applying for 8 jobs. And I tested like 105 out of that, which wasn't horrible, but it was nowhere near in a position to get hired. So anyways, I started applying more and more places. A good friend of mine, Bob Van Dyke, was working at Shelby Township Police Department. And after I had applied for a couple places, he said, come see me. He sat down, and Bob said, this is what you need to do in an interview. This is what they're expecting. This is how you respond. This is how you should carry yourself. And then after a little guidance from him, I started doing better in my interview. So then I came up on several lists. Warren, I ended up getting hired at Warren, and I'm really glad that I went. Like the people that are in these types of jobs, and I assume it's the same in the military. My wife is an Army veteran from the first Gulf War, but people that are in, high adrenaline, high risk jobs, it's like a drug. It's like when you first start, it's crazy. Like I know you were in Detroit, so it was even more off the hook. But I got hired in January of 2000. I'm like, I had to do this for free. This was just an absolute, driving fast and chasing people, and it was so exciting. I really enjoyed it, and it was amazing. And then it's a brotherhood. Right. You and I are I think of you as my brother, like literally as my brother. I'm closer with you than I am my actual brother. He lives in Colorado. But there's a handful of guys that I have that I grew up working the roads with. It's a shared experience. It's a shared trauma a lot of times. Right. But I think if to have the type of relationship that you have with some of your coworkers, it's born out of that shared trauma and shared relationship. If you have a superficial, if it's a superficial experience, it's more likely to be a superficial friendship, I think. And I think, all the negative things that law enforcement can have and bring, and how hard it is, and the hours and the things that you see and do, and the way you're treated by a lot of people, there's definitely a flip side of that in a positive way, and that it really is a brotherhood.
I've talked to you a little bit about when you talk about this brotherhood, like the four walls of protection, right? What this podcast is about. It's those four walls that we go to work every day, and we're working with those people, those men and women that we work with, and we're with them more than we're with our families sometimes, especially on these, the time that you spend with them. And so it is a brotherhood. It's a sisterhood. It is, we carry this together. We truly carry, like you said, the trauma, everything together. And so I want to move a little bit into some of the pillars that I talk about with the spiritual and mental and emotional and physical, financial. And so you moved from the street, you worked a long time on the streets, then you were a detective, you did many things in the detective bureau, then you moved up the ranks. In 22 years on the job, you see things that could cause you to lose faith in humanity, right? And what was your true North Star that kept your soul intact?
Well, my father was a very spiritual man. I feel like he gave me a real good basis. My mother was very, very loving, but my father was a very spiritual man, very grounded, and I think he gave me a sense of being grounded. My wife has been amazing. She's fantastic. She's supportive in whatever I do. She's always had my back. I'm always able to talk to her. We have a marriage that is extremely solid and has been very important to me. It's funny. I took a personality test. Jordan B. Peterson has this personality test, and they measure just different personality traits. And one of the traits, the only trait that was like outside of the 40 to 60% middle of the road was neuroticism, negative emotion. And I scored 6 on negative emotion. I think I'm just sort of hardwired to not be as affected by some of that stuff as some other people. It's a blessing. I don't know how I came by that, but it's true. That's not to say I haven't been. Like over the years, I've seen some things and I've been affected by things. But I came out of law enforcement pretty intact, unlike some of the people that I work with. And I know that a lot of guys carry a lot of scars and weight. And I came out of it pretty good. First several years I was there, I was amused by everything. You know what I mean? I'm like,
right. None of the amusement by me, right?
Yeah, this ass clown is like, these aren't my pants, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Or just like everything I saw, I just thought was funny and just ridiculous. And I always had a sense of humor about it. But I remember, and I don't know if I think a lot of guys, like that 8-year mark, it started to just not be as funny, and I just disgusted, just like.
Yeah.
Look how you're leading your life. Look at, you know what I mean? Like just the things you're doing, the condition of your house, the way you're treating your family and loved ones. It about 8 years, I was like just disgusted with it.
I believe that one of the things that has always stuck out to me with you is that you balanced your life very well. And your family has always been very important to you.
Yeah.
And you were able to balance work and home very well. And I'm sure that there were moments in your career where maybe you were working more, but you were able to balance that. And, not all of us are able to do that.
Yeah,
for a majority of us, I feel like we fail miserably at that. And I don't believe that you were one of those that failed miserably at that.
I've always done pretty well. My wife and I have had discussions over the years when she felt that life wasn't in the balance she thought it should be in. And I remember when I was still pretty new. We were living in St. Clair Shores, and Chuck, we would go 3-4 days a week. You'd go to the bar after work. You work midnights, get off work at 7:50, straight to the bar.
Yep.
And I never stayed super late. I think that's part of that balance you're talking about. But every now and again, time to get away from you. And I came home one day, and now I had 2 kids at home, and my wife said, "Okay, this is how this is going to work. You can stay out as long as you want, but when the kids get home from school, you're getting up. And I figured out pretty quick that, if I stayed out much past 9 or 10 o'clock, I wasn't getting enough sleep, and I was going to feel like I got hit by a truck.
Right.
So my wife and I have always been able to sort of talk through whatever boundaries that need to be set, and she's got no problem putting me in my place if it needed to happen. I listen to her, and I respect her, and if she tells me, because I know it's coming from a place of love, like, no, you're getting a little out of hand. You need to rein that shit in, and I do.
And she is a pretty amazing woman. I mean, she puts me in my place as well. So
yes, yes.
How did you transition your mindset from being the guy doing the investigations into being the lieutenant in charge? How did that transition go?
You and I had different feelings about being a detective. You loved being a detective. That was probably your favorite thing when you were at Warren. You loved being a detective. I loved parts of being a detective, and parts of being a detective I really disliked. It was this crushing weight of. I mean, I was a Squad 1 detective, so I would handle major cases. And at the time, we didn't have a lot of homicides, so I handled one homicide in the 2 years I was a Squad 1 detective. But armed robberies, serious assaults, stabbings, whatever. I took that, and I know you did as well. But I took that responsibility seriously for the victims and for the community that I was serving, and it was a heavy weight. And in Warren, unlike a lot of the other departments, it's a heavy caseload. You come in on a Monday, you're getting 3 cases, and
right.
It might be one Nerf toss of a domestic violence, and then a stabbing and a robbery. And guess what? On Tuesday, you're getting another one. And on Wednesday, you're getting another one. And Thursday, you might get a pass. But Friday, you're getting 2 more. And it's just a grueling pace. And if you want to properly investigate, don't get me wrong, not all of those cases carried the amount of weight of some of them. A lot of them were just retail frauds or nonsense. But it's a heavy caseload, and I did not enjoy being in the DB. I was incentivized to promote as fast as I could, and I studied really hard to promote to sergeant. I think Warren has a good system as far as that goes, because we have a detective corporal rank. It's a corporal rank, so you promote to corporal to be a detective, and you're off the road for at least 2 years. I think it was, what was it, 3.5?
It was 4 for me. I think 3.5
for me. And while you're gone for 3 years, you're not in patrol. And when you come down, Warren has enough of a turnover, like 2/3 of the room you don't know.
Right.
So it makes it, I think it's a healthy way to do it, because you're stepping in as a supervisor, but a lot of those guys don't know you as a road cop.
Right.
Some of them do, but it makes it easier for you to make that transition. I think it's a well structured way for that to be handled. I don't know. I always enjoyed being a detective most. I enjoyed being a road cop the most. I enjoyed that, and when I went back on the road, I've had supervisors that were role models to me that I respected, and I liked the way they handled things. David Dismuke, Dan Novak, Heidi Metz. I'm sure there's others that I'm missing, but I tried to take the things that they did that I liked, and I don't micromanage, and I think that's a huge thing as well.
Right. Yeah. Let's move a little bit into, as we get into, so you were a supervisor, you then were promoted to lieutenant, but I believe that it's just how you've balanced your life. Like, do you believe, or do you remember at all, or what was the balance like when you were able to transition, when you left out of those 4 walls and you went home? Was it hard for you to transition into, okay, I'm husband, I'm father, or do you remember there were moments where
I didn't have a hard time transitioning in my familial relationships and with my friendships? To a certain extent, you're leaving, and I know that this was hard for you. You're leaving the confines of the culture of Warren, the Warren PD, and especially when you're a supervisor and a lieutenant. I mean, there's a lot of people talk to you a lot. You're sort of at the center of whatever you're in charge of. So there's a huge amount of socialization. It's non-ending. Like I would come home from work at midnights, or if I was in the DB or whatever, and my wife would be like, "You look tired." I'm like, "Oh, I'm exhausted." "Well, what did you do today?" "Well, I didn't do much," but it's just constant people in your office
Yes.
some of them are important decisions, but 95% of them are just, some of it's just socialization, but it's just, for me, it was mentally taxing. I need a certain amount of downtime. Anyways, I didn't have a hard time transitioning out of that. I didn't have a hard time dealing with the traumas I witnessed on the road, seeing with responding to crime and whatnot. I didn't realize how much stress I was under until I, transferred out of the detective bureau, because there was a lot of responsibility with that. I was on call for 2 years, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. With the exception of 2 weeks, my phone was on me all the time.
Yeah.
And, I had to be in a position to answer it all the time. And I was in charge of the detective bureau for a good portion of that. And I was an IA before that. And I was a patrol exec lieutenant in between. And it's direct relationships and the demands of the commissioner. And Commissioner Dwyer, I respect him a lot, but he is a demanding boss, and he expects you to be on your toes. And it was, 2 years of answering the phone, all the time was a lot. And my wife, work balance, my wife was fed up with the phone calls. She really was. Anyways, when I retired, I didn't have a hard time with any of that. I remember feeling like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I had been counting down the years and months and days for so long. And I feel like, and I've had other retirees say this to me, other friends of mine, that you don't realize how stressful and how hard it is working in a department like Warren. Like the pace of play is just so fast and so hard, and you're dealing with major decisions all the time. Do you terminate a pursuit because it's a property crime, or is there a potential for something else, or do you let it go? And that's an every night decision on whether you let that go or not.
Right.
You make a bad call, and your officers there could be a fatal accident. Your officers could be involved. Your officers could be in trouble with the department or even criminally. And it's just decisions like that nonstop. And it was easy for me to step away from that.
Right.
And, life balance. Like I can't remember who it was. I read a quote, and I think it was like Steinbeck and Hemingway, but they were at a mansion for a bunch of the Gilded Age millionaires. And the one said to the other, like, we have one thing that they don't. And what's that? We have enough. And I have deliberately and very mindfully managed my life balance that I have saved enough money. I'm certainly not wealthy. And I work part-time now, 20 to 30 hours a week. And if I don't feel like working for a few weeks because I want to go out of town, I can. So I have like a perfect work-life balance. It's healthy for me to get out of the house, and I work with a couple of old retired Warren guys, so it's, I'm there with my brothers.
Right.
And I make a little extra money, then it pays for my vacations or if I want to buy some silly shit, I can do it. But I don't feel like I need to work full time and make more and more money, and I'm very content where I'm at. And I don't really miss being at the police department much. Like I'm not, I know you'll go back and visit or whatever. I haven't done that much at all. I still talk to a couple of guys there, but not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. Let's pause for a second.
Today's episode is brought to you by Valor Collective. In the heroes community, among our military first responders and frontline workers, trust isn't just a word, it's a lifeline. It's earned through action and proven in the trenches. When you're ready to make a move, you don't just need a real estate agent. You need a team that operates by the same code you live by. Valor Collective was built on that foundation of integrity and grit. They understand that for you, a home isn't just a transaction. It's the rally point for your family and the one place you can finally decompress. They've got your back because they've walked the path. Valor Collective, built on honor, driven by results. Your move is our mission.
So now we're back. We talk about mentally and emotionally and even spiritually what goes on in our body and what we do, how we handle these things being on the job. But just as important with these 5 pillars is taking care of yourself is physical, right? And so the job is a physical grind. The question is, how did you stay physically capable to do the job for 22 years? And how, moving into retirement, how are you feeling now with your body? Do you feel that you did everything that you were supposed to do or should have done? Now moving into, obviously we're getting older, but what did you do to make it a point to make sure that you were healthy enough moving into retirement?
I didn't do fantastic at that. There were parts of my career that I did really well, and there were parts that I didn't. I've always lifted weights and been physically active off and on. I would lift weights really good for 6 or 8 months, and then I wouldn't for 4 or 5 months, and then and this cycle would repeat forever. I was on midnights, I think it was for over 16 of my 25 years. It's brutal. Like, there's I figured it out. There's like a half-life. I was on midnights for 11 years the first time, went to the DB, came out, 5.5 years, half-life. It's cooked, done with midnights. I was done when I left after 11 years. I only made it half that, 5.5 years. Done. I needed to get off of midnights. And then I went back a third time, and that was 2 years and 8 months, half-life again, and I was done.
Right.
I probably shouldn't have done midnights as long as I did, but I loved being on midnights. I liked that there wasn't a bunch of rank and white shirts around, and the building was quiet, and I felt like there was more real crime, and you were dealing with, it was more exciting, and there was less nonsense. I probably, if I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't do as long on midnights, although I loved it. That's where I like to be.
You did. I mean, remember the conversation? I got promoted to sergeant, and I went on midnights with you, and after
you were like 2 months in, you're like, I can't do
it anymore.
You're nuts.
No,
you are nuts.
18 years of midnights was enough for me in my career. And when I came, I was a little bit older, and it was 12-hour shift, now midnights, and it wasn't worth it to me. And one of the things that I will tell you that really stuck out for me is I had brought this up with Scotty last week when he was in talking with me, and it kind of almost hurt my feelings a little bit. It didn't, but it did. I just gotten on midnights after getting promoted to sergeant, and I was at the house, and the boys were there, and my girlfriend at the time was there, and I came downstairs, and I was had probably 4 hours of sleep. And I came walking downstairs, and I don't even know if I just accepted it, but Chase was in the kitchen and Jared was in the kitchen, and Chase looked at me and he goes, "Asshole dad's back." Dave.
I remember that. When I got off midnights the first time, I remember my wife didn't say much, but I know I was a crabby bastard.
And
you're just physically run down. You're just beat into the ground.
And I believe that was the first time that I realized, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I did it because of my family, and I enjoyed midnights, but I did it because of my family. But
it did work out great for the kids.
It worked out phenomenal for the kids.
My wife went back to work once she went back to school and then back to work once my youngest started going to school full time. If one of the kids were home sick from school, I was there. If I didn't have to miss any of the kids' stuff.
No.
I go to all their games, their their dance recitals, all of that. I could get them, whatever. I was always available at the sacrifice of some sleep.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Sacrifice. I mean, I told you that one time, I remember for baseball, that I went 4 days without sleeping so I could be at Jared's baseball tournament. I mean, just thinking about why would you do that? Do you know what I mean?
My wife was always good about protecting my sleep the best that she could. So, I mean, that made it that I was able to do it at all.
Right. And you did. I mean, we talked about it. You were able to go home and go in the quiet basement and shut down, and you were able to do it. Yeah.
Anyways, the health transition. After I retired, I was getting a little heavy. I put on even more weight. So I just recently, I'm still losing weight, but I'm down over 45 pounds. And I haven't been going to the gym like I'd like, but I have been active. I've got a bike and I walk the dog, and I do go to the gym occasionally. And my goal is to start going to the gym more. And I've been watching a lot of health videos and whatever else. And the thought of what I may have done to my health with all those years on midnights, it's sort of scary. But I feel great. I feel healthy. I feel strong. I can do pretty much whatever I want. I mean, I'm 53 years old, so, my knee hurts sometimes.
Right.
My back is whatever, but I'm 53 years old. I'm in pretty good shape for now that I've lost 45 pounds.
Right. Well, and that's huge. That is absolutely huge. So
we're going to take a quick pause for our sponsor, Valor Collective. For years, your life has been defined by the badge, the uniform, and the heavy lifting that happens beyond the four walls. You've stood the watch and held the line. But what happens when the shift is finally over? Valor Collective presents From the Badge to the Beach. They've built a nationwide network of elite agents who specialize in helping the heroes community find their version of paradise. Whether it's a coastal retreat, a mountain sanctuary, or just a quiet piece of land far from the sirens and the stress, they are the bridge to your next chapter. They understand that after a career of service, you aren't just looking for a house, you're looking for the peace you've earned. When you're ready to transition from the front lines to the shoreline, there is only one place to go, OneRealMove.com. No matter where you're looking to plant your flag, Valor Collective has the recon and the reach to get you there. OneRealMove.com. From the badge to the beach, because you've protected our world. Now it's time to enjoy yours.
And so now you put a uniform back on part-time. And, you and I talked about this, and I considered it a little bit, but I've been doing real estate. But I think what sticks out is you're doing it because you want to, not because you have to. So how are you doing with that?
Well, I'm working. It's very different than Warren. I mean, it's a really small community. The run volume is very low. Last time I worked, I don't know if I had a single run for a 10-hour shift. And the nature of the runs aren't nearly what they are. It's just so different. The environment is so different. They don't have their own jail. It's in Lapeer County, so you have to get permission from the jail whether they're going to house if you make an arrest. Whereas in Warren, you're going to jail.
You're going to jail, right?
It's a 10-minute ride up the road. If you need to go, you're going.
Yeah.
It's just very different. I enjoy being there. My boss, the chief there, is an old friend of mine. I worked with him at Macomb Auto Theft Squad. He's always great to see and be around. He's a good boss. I like him as a person. He's a friend of mine. My old scout car partner for 7 years. Like you said, you spend more time with the people at work. Well, John, I for sure did. I mean, we were in a car together 40 hours a week for years. And then I saw him more than my wife for sure.
Yeah.
And then Isaacson is an old Midnights guy with us.
Yeah.
And he's been a friend for a long, long time. And most of the guys there are retirees. So, yeah, it's pretty seamless. And I'm taking a trip out west later this year, and I'll be gone for a few weeks. And I just take off a few weeks and go. And I work when I want to work pretty much. They'll occasionally ask me to cover shifts, and if I can, I accommodate them. But it's a really good balance for me.
I really appreciate you coming in. I know we've had a busy life, and I'm going to definitely get you to come in again. I promise. But let me ask you a question. I've been asking this from everybody that comes in. So the name of this show is Beyond the Four Walls, right? So if you could sit down with that rookie cop coming on the job and you could tell him, give him some ideas of how to truly be that sustainable hero that you are, what are some things that you would like to give that young officer coming on that is starting strong?
First of all,
right?
I don't know if I would even suggest, like I've had conversations with my son-in-law was thinking about being a police officer briefly, and other people. Like I would give it some serious thought. It is not the same world that you and I worked in.
No.
Not remotely so. Cops were viewed very differently, much more favorably back then than they are now. The legal climate was different. So, I mean, first and foremost, like I would give it serious thought, and I would discourage somebody, unless it really is their life's calling. You know, there's other ways to make money. If you're going into this as a job and not as a calling, I wouldn't even do it. When I got hired, the IA lieutenant that did my background check, Rufus Clark.
Yes.
He sat me down and he had a conversation with me, and I always forget one of them, but he sat me down and he had a conversation with me when I got started, and it was the 4 or 5 B's: booze, broads, bribes, and bets. And I thought there was a 5th one. He goes, those are the things that always get the guys in trouble, and I think that's true.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to prioritize your family. It can be, especially when you're new, it's so exciting, it's so fun. You want to be there, but you're in it for the long haul, and your health. Your health for sure. I get in the gym, try and eat right, stay away from. I see there's some meme thing that my wife has on her Facebook, and it's all these memes or whatever about stay away from the ER nurse, dispatchers, and that those are funny because they're true. I mean, we've seen it
Yes.
1,000 times.
Yes.
Like, take care of your marriage. Your spouse has been my greatest asset, and
Right.
hopefully, if you're going into this career, you have someone similar. So, you have to prioritize that.
First of all, I want to thank you for your service to the community. I thank you for 22 years that you put in, that with me, that you put into the community. I mean, and for our friendship. I think you are truly a blueprint of a successful, sustainable hero.
Thank you.
And so thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yes, thank you. That was Lieutenant Kriss, a man who proved that you could climb the ranks without losing your heart. Success isn't just surviving the career, it's having a family that still wants to be around you when you hang up the belt. To everyone still on the line, and those who've already turned their gear, thank you. Lean on the 5 pillars of growth, find the courage to breathe, and remember, you started strong. Let's finish stronger. See you on the next episode of Beyond the Four Walls.